Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The Sopranos prequel, The Many Saints of Newark, hits movie theaters tomorrow. I spoke with creator David Chase about the show's legacy, his favorite episodes, and the controversial finale's cut to black. David Chase, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP.
Thank you.
We're here talking The Sopranos prequel, Many Saints of Newark, which comes out in theaters October 1st. Now, I mean, you ended The Sopranos on such a famous note, the cut to black. What made you want to return? Like, something tells me you probably wouldn't have done it anything like a sequel after the cut to black, but a prequel on the front end, that intrigued you more?
Yeah, that intrigued me more. There's no way I would have done a sequel. That's the end of that story. But after, 14 or 15 years, I just kind of got in the mood, got again to go back to that universe. It was always fun. It was always creatively satisfying. And I have to be honest, I didn't start the whole idea. I was approached by Toby Emmerich of Warner Brothers, and he'd been doing that for 14 years, asking me if I wanted to do a movie, a Sopranos movie. And finally, I figured, yeah. I wasn't producing anything else, so I thought, yeah, I'll do it.
Awesome. Well, I know fans are going to be glad that you did. What was it like working with James Gandolfini's son, Michael Gandolfini? Obviously, I mean, were there times on set that you just stopped and thought, like, wow, that's James. That's a spitting image of the guy I work with. Rest in peace. The guy I worked with for so many years.
No, I have to be honest. This is a very disappointing answer for everyone. But I believe that Michael feels this way too. Although you'd have to ask him. For me, it was a job. It was a production, and I never really thought about James when we were doing it. Michael was an actor, saying lines and doing things called for in the script, and that's all I was interested in at that point. That's just the way it is. There was no sentiment or sentimentality either involved in it.
You just came to work and knocked it out. All right.
Well, no, I wouldn't say we knocked it out. We worked very hard. But once in the read through before we started shooting, I looked across at him sitting at a table, and they were reading a scene which he wasn't even in, and he was listening to it, and he was shifting his shoulders back and forth like his old man would have done. And I thought, wow, it's almost eerie. And that would be the last time I thought about it at all. After then, just the needs of production took over, and that's all we ever thought about, either one of us, I think.
Wow. Well, yeah, thanks for being so open and insightful about that answer. Well, tell me about, what was the thought process behind not doing just a straightforward story of just young Tony growing up to, filling in the gap like a Bronx Tale or something from kid to adult, in fact, Michael doesn't show up. I mean, we see younger versions of him, but Michael doesn't show up till probably like 50 minutes in or something, when we start getting the ice cream truck and stuff. But, if anything, his Uncle Dickie Maltesani, Alessandro Nivola, the actor is almost a lead role or equal lead part in this. What was the thought process behind going in that route and highlighting a Maltesanti as such a huge part of this? And we got Michael Imperioli narrating the beginning too. So why'd you go down the Maltesanti route?
Well, to begin with, I mean, my partner, writing partner, Lawrence Connor, and I, once we had agreed to create a screenplay for Warner Brothers, what our preference was to do was to make a really solid gangster movie. That's all. Make that as good as we could, with the most interesting betrayals and narrative turns and the most interesting characters and depth. A gangster movie. And but we knew the money was coming from Warner Brothers, and they wanted a Sopranos movie, so that was fine by both of us. And we had this character, Dickie Moltisanti, who, by the description of him in the show, seemed to be an ideal gangster, wise guy, mob guy, and kind of a mystery. And so we said, let's find out who he is. And that's how it happened.
Well, he's an interesting character, no doubt. So you can't really go wrong there. I noticed, I know a lot of Sopranos fans are going to notice some really fun echoes that, foreshadow things that happen in the TV series. Like when young Tony's in with the guidance counselor, that scene's almost like, adult Tony's therapy sessions. There's some fun stuff with Corey Stoll as Uncle Junior. Even Ray Liotta at the steering wheel. I mean, we all remember Christopher's demise was at a steering wheel and behind the car. So there's some really cool stuff. But do you have any favorite, echoes, like foreshadowings that we might have missed that you say, look for this little Easter egg that foreshadows something?
Let me think that you might have missed. I mean, we saw it the other night with a large crowd. And it just went over. It was incredible. I've never been through anything like that in my life. But let me think. We were watching it. What did I see?
Or even just, you could speak to the steering wheel echo of Christopher if you can't come up with anything. Just speak to the idea of how you're trying to put those echoes in there.
Well, that's seemed to me to be part of the job, and that was a pleasure too. Was to have the people repeat themselves, and to think that 20, 25 years prior they'd been saying the same crap. That was fun, It was really good being back in that universe. I'll have to say that, in the Sopranos universe with those characters. I'm very fond of all those characters, sleazy as they may be, but I love them all.
Absolutely. Well, one of the more obvious echoes, obviously, is towards the end, not the final scene, but close to it, with when young Tony's at the restaurant hearing the doorbell ringing. Of course, you're calling back to that famous cut to black finale of The Sopranos. You've probably been approached with so many theories and asked so many times, but to me, it's pretty obvious. Like, we got the members only jacket guy, the Godfather bathroom, obviously, but to me, it's all in the film language of the shot pattern. Doorbell, Tony looks up, POV. It's that shot pattern, and when you cut to black, it's during the POV. So to me, it's clear that Tony's dead there. But I think you, sir, are such a genius that you even threw out another layer for us, because we get that whole the song is saying all that you dream, clouds change the scene, and then you do that 2001 Kubrick style cut where he sees himself, kind of a thing.
Wow.
So are you?
Wow, you brought up your dream, clouds change the scene. That's pretty, what's the word? Perspicacious of you. Seriously, that's great. I had forgotten that. It was important.
Well, I guess my question is there an out there that on the surface, if you look at it like a film student, the shot pattern, of course he's dead in the POV black, but you're also giving us an out that it could be another one of the famous Sopranos dream sequences?
I will be honest and candid about that. That never occurred to me.
Well,
occurred to me.
Thanks for settling it. Well, what's your answer then? What's your general go-to when people ask then? Just, the movie never ends. It goes on and on like the song. You wanted it to cut to black?
It's for people to watch and end it for themselves, or not end it for themselves. I'm not going to say any more about that ending. And every time I do, even the littlest thing, people jump on it and say, see, he said this, or see, he meant that. So I'm not going to talk about that ending.
Well, I think the fact that everyone's talking about it means you did your job. I think it's a masterpiece.
They're still talking about it now.
Yeah, no. If it was a traditional ending, people wouldn't still be talking about it. The reason reason we're still talking. Yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
For sure. Do you have a favorite episode? I mean, for me, comedically, it was Pine Barrens, obviously, but then for drama, you can't beat Whitecaps with the marital arguments. But did you have a favorite?
Whitecaps was pretty good. I've always said, and it's true, I really like The Ride. I like that episode a lot.
Remind us what that one is.
That was where the Italian feast came to town, and the teacups ride broke, and Janet tried to fleece them out of money because her son got a tooth knocked out or something. and that's where Chris went back on heroin. That's a good one. I really like. I can't think of the name of it. Is that weird? The one where AJ tries to commit suicide.
Oh, with the block in the swimming pool and everything.
Yeah. I really like that one. But earlier, I'm trying to think. I think it's kind of hated for good reason. The one where Ralphie kills the stripper. I just don't remember the titles of these anymore. The one where Ralphie kills the stripper behind the Bada Bing. That was a very good episode. That was a great episode.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I also like the one where Chris and Tony go out to the farm to bury Ralphie in two separate places. That was a really good episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so many good ones. I mean, it'd be hard pick trying to pick your favorite.
That's the way I feel. Yes, it's the truth.
Absolutely. Well, was there a whacking, a murder that hurt you the most? Was there any character that was the hardest to kill off?
Well, sure. Adriana was really hard. Absolutely. That was very sad, and actually got me emotionally. And a lot of people tell me they had the same reaction. They felt like crying, or they were near crying, or that was a rough one. And that's the only one where we didn't show the bullet impact. In other words, we saw Sylvia fire the gun, but we never saw her take the slug. In all the other ones, you saw somebody getting hit with the bullet, or whatever it was, the pipe, whatever it was, and going down, but not that one.
Well, I mean, all these years, I mean, I guess it's been a couple years now, but I guess the Writers Guild, they ranked the best written shows ever, and Sopranos topped the list, and it's hard. You're not going to get an argument from me, but why?
No, I know.
Why is it number one in your book? I mean, you were involved with it, but if you could take a step back, objectively speaking, why do you think? Just how it paved the way for everything else that followed?
Well, it's hard to answer that question without sounding like a pompous, conceited, schmuck.
We give you permission. Go for it.
I think it had the closest representation of real people, of real human beings, and how they operate and how they think and how small they can be. I think that's why.
Absolutely. Well, it's part of the legacy of it too is, all these HBO shows and even other networks, we see all these shows now, you'll see, Boardwalk Empire, Terrence Winter, Mad Men, Matthew Weiner, Game of Thrones, you'll see Alan Taylor and, Tim Van Patten. You'll see all these same names popping up. And I know Alan Taylor directed this too, but do you sit back sort of like a proud parent sometimes? And is that in some ways, is that some of the Sopranos' biggest legacy is the work that all these people have gone on to do? I mean, you really launched a bunch of careers in front of and behind the camera with that show.
Well, I never would think of it that way. That was the biggest part of the legacy. Because I in my mind all the time, it's all the work that went into each and every episode. But I think it's a great thing that they use The Sopranos as a model. But you see, in other words, I'm a worker in that industry, as are they.
Right.
Or let's say I'm a contractor. Okay, I'm building a house. And so to me, all it really means is, so they hired the best carpenter. They hired my friend Eddie, the plumber. You know what I mean? They're the best guys. And so it's a business. To me, it's more about business than anything else.
Well,
I don't mean money. It's more about professional standards.
Well, I admire your workman-like approach there. I mean, I think that's probably some of the secret of your success. But if you had to look at it, culturally, how do you think it did change television? Because to me, that's the line of demarcation point. I mean, there was before The Sopranos, and then there was after.
I think it was the first show let human beings be human beings. That nothing was done to gild any lilies, to cover up any dents in the fender. I think people were what they were, and it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't noble, and it wasn't patriotic, and it wasn't politically correct. It was real.
Absolutely. Well, I guess closing seconds. I know you're a busy man and we got to run. So I guess final question, just bringing it back all the way back around to Many Saints of Newark. There's a theme in there. I guess it comes from Buddhism, where Ray Liotta is talking to Uncle Dickie. And when he visits him in the prison all the time, and you get a lot of good, tragic warnings and bad omens and thematic stuff through in those scenes. But there's that line that, he tries to warn him. He says, pain always comes from wanting things. Is that sort of the takeaway message from Many Saints of Newark? Or,
yes,
what are you trying to warn the audience about?
Well, here's what I believe. The Sopranos, it was about a lot of things. But there were two things that were constantly, that no other two shows were so involved with. One was money, and the other was death. And those two things are related. And it's not a pretty picture. And it's not the best way to live. It's not the best way for a human being to live. And I think the Buddhists are right. What is that called? The Four Noble Truths, I believe. I could be wrong. That all life is pain. I think we can all agree to that. I think, maybe not everybody, but there's a lot of pain in living. And that it's our desires, our earthly desires, never being in the moment. Oh, you know what? If I get this Porsche, I'll feel better. If I do X, I'll feel better. Oh boy, I need to go to the swimming pool. Whatever it is, it's like it's all about denying the present moment.
So that's your message. And just live in the present, not too much in the past or the future or wanting what we don't have. Is live in the moment. That's your message.
Well, I guess my message is the moments are really small, the number of them that we get, and we lose sight of that. And when it's over, it's really over. Yeah,
cut the black. Well, thank you so much. And thankfully, it's not over for this interview. May be over, but the Sopranos.
Well, you made me think. It was a good interview. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.